So in this video series, I'm going to talk to you about creativity, specifically creativity in the context of K-12 education. I'm going to give you the information and the tools so you can apply it into your classroom practice in a way that is practical, relevant, and successful. And I'm going to teach you some things to definitely do and some things to definitely not do, because the point is to help your students be more successful, to grow and encourage their creativity and not to squash it, even unintentionally, and that happens. So the first thing you need to know about creativity is it's been studied and researched for almost a century. The funny thing about it is it's still a mystery. It's been debated and argued about, and everybody has a different definition. You may or may not know that, but if you think about it, it makes sense. An artist is going to define creativity differently than a neuroscientist, or someone in the field of education, or in the field of psychology, or in the field of business. They all want it, but what they want is a different part of it, or a different application of it. And I think that's part of the problem of why it's so hard to define. The other problem that makes it hard to define is the way that it's tested. Many times it's tested in a sterile environment, which according to scientific method is necessary. You want it to be controlled. But if it's controlled, how free is the participant to really be creative? And is that a natural, creativity-inducing environment? So there's problems all the way around. My hope is that these videos are going to help it not be a problem for you. So we're not going to worry about the definition. Don't worry about the definition. We're going to break down the different aspects of creativity and how you can better understand them. The first thing we're going to talk about is novelty. Why? In many of these definitions of creativity, originality is brought up. But that's a problem. Why is a problem? Because who decides it's original? Who? That brings in another issue of judgment. Who are the gatekeepers of what is determined to be creative or not creative? This is how you get into the big C and the little c, which is, again, another video. But as teachers in the classroom, you are the gatekeepers of determining what is creative and what is not creative in the classroom. That makes you the judge. So you need to understand it so you can judge it carefully. So when we talk about originality or novelty, I need you to step back and think about this. You, as an educator, have a lifetime of lived experience, a teaching experience. You've seen tons of students come through your classroom. Many times you're repeating curriculum. If you're at a specific grade level, that makes sense. Or maybe if you're a specialist, like an art teacher, you have a few favorite lessons and you repeat those. So what that means is it gets harder and harder for you to see something that really makes you pause and go, wow, that's really creative, because you've seen so much. But what you need to understand is what's novel for you is different than what's novel for a student. Now, how this looks in the classroom, how it can look in the classroom, is if you have a child, you've got an assignment, and you're talking and you're asking for ideas, and some kid raises their hand and puts one forth, and you're like, oh, well, you know, that's okay, but y'all keep trying. And the reason that you might say that isn't to discourage that child, but it's because you hear that every year. It's not novel to you, but it may be the first time that child's given an answer like that. Maybe the first time they've even heard that question or considered that information you've given. So while you did not mean to be discouraging, you just suppressed that child's willingness, even just a little bit, to throw up his hand again and give you an answer, because the subtext is, that answer's okay, but it really wasn't what I was looking for. I need more creative answers. And that's what's happening. So what do you do here? You remember that your kids, especially if they're younger children, everything is new for them. Everything is novel for them. So be very careful about encouraging them to keep trying, to do something different. There is a time and a space to push for more creativity, but when a child is young, what you really need to do is support their creativity, because you're not just supporting the ideas, and the ideas are very important. You're supporting the fact that they are taking a risk in sharing an idea. And you're building that confidence that, yeah, okay, you put forth an idea. Great. You want to validate that effort. Now, if it's a written assignment, or maybe it's a science fair project, or a book fair project, or some kind of diorama you're making for a school report, maybe on the rainforest or something, and you're working with those students, and they bring an idea to you. Remember, don't just dismiss it out of hand because you see that idea every year. Understand that that might be the first time that child's ever done it. So be very careful about issues of novelty and originality. That being said, if you have group projects going on, or you have a classroom verbal brainstorming, which I don't recommend for reasons that we'll get into in another video, and you have kids presenting ideas, and maybe you have two groups that have come up with the same idea, that's when you might talk to both of them and encourage both of them to branch out differently, and you do that through questions. Questions and encouraging ideas will also be another video in this series. So those are two different things here. One, yes, you want to encourage the expansion of ideas. That means you need to just set aside your perspective as an adult and look through their eyes and understand that that effort that they just gave you is valid and original for them. So I'll see you in the next video. If you have any questions or concerns or specific scenarios in your own classroom, please post them below. I'll be happy to talk to you.